Hey guys, I wanted to record a message at this Thanksgiving time about the gratitude of having it all, or life exactly how you would like it. And as we've been sharing, the natural state is unlimited, and we all experience that at times in our life. And I just am convinced the reason love, the ideas of love and freedom and abundance and wholeness and operating in the supernatural are so intriguing to us, where we all have a natural desire to be free and we all have a natural desire to be abundant, is because we were born out of that. We were born out of the limitlessness of God. And the idea of separation and some of the theology we grew up with is just daily, it's been proven more and more that it's just not accurate. It's not how life works. It was misinterpretations of the text. And as I've been sharing, the texts are 1,000 times better than what we've been taught when you get to the original Hebrew and Greek word pictures. But anyway, so to be natural, to be whole, to have life exactly how we want it is natural to us. You know, if the presence of God in us is really the presence of God, think about this. Ask yourself, how hard is it for God to have things? How hard is it for God to change things? It's not. That's the whole idea of every culture has prayer, where we go inward or to change something external. And really prayer is something very simple. It's really just operating out of our true design and accepting life exactly how we want it, knowing that that is the unleashing the unlimited power of God. And in any idea that is references that we become limited, that we pick up over the years, teaching that you're separated from God, that you're guilty, you're sinful, naturally put us into incoherence, guys. It causes fear, it causes anxiety, it causes depression, and they're designed to be uncomfortable because it's not natural to us. And so the great news is that it's very easy to live out of the unlimited state, where you can allow yourself to have life exactly how you want it. Now, we haven't been taught that, but if the presence of God in us is truly God, then it's not hard for God. And I just believe, I always reference it on the fellowship calls of being a parent. Now, people have different ideas about this, but we want to teach our kids that they can have anything they desire. We teach them that if we're good parents, and we teach them how remarkable they are, how magnificent they are, how loved they are. And anything other than that is not true. That's why it doesn't feel good. And so anyway, the only reason people don't have anything they desire with ease is because they've become accustomed to living in a low energy level, and they've become accustomed to feelings of lack, of fear, anxiety. They're not true. And so this whole message, I want people to go from struggle to having life exactly how they want it with ease. And it has to be simple when you're flowing in the flow of God, as I said, because God doesn't struggle for things. And so I will address this briefly. I think Bob Proctor talks about it the best, as he goes, man's chief delusion, or not the best, but this is a great quote that sums up what we're sharing here. Man's chief delusion is to think that the causation of life is outside of himself. And so because so there's no devil, there's no enemy, there's nothing outside of you that's fighting you. And I'll probably do this is everything that you could ever desire is within. You've been complete from the start, nothing lacking. And so all the stories of God fighting the quote unquote enemy or having foes are 100% complete misinterpretation of the original word picture, guys. You look outside at nature every morning. There's some mule deer in our yard, and sometimes there's like 50 elk that come through. The sun comes up perfectly. The birds are chirping. The mountains were beautifully snow capped this morning. They're not struggling against an enemy. This is, like I said, a complete 100% mistranslation. In fact, all the enemy, if you go look at it, it literally says the completion of another union, the substitute union, the second union is the intimacy of you and God. The first union is physical, producing this life. The second union, or enemy, the other, is the completion of the love covenant of union with you and God, which is spiritual. In addition, I'll also talk about the blood, because there's been some things going around about blood. Think about this. As a parent, do you demand blood to love and forgive your kids? Like hemoglobin, red blood cells. And I'll do a healing your book message on both the enemy and the blood, because blood is not red blood cells that have hemoglobin, guys. I promise you, all those stories, God is not pagan. God is love. Just as we would never have to kill, sacrifice an animal or sacrifice a human to forgive, the God of love doesn't either. They're all mistranslated, I promise you. And please don't get mad at me. They're actually 1,000 times better. All the stories are like, why would God require blood? Why is he so bloodthirsty? All go away, because blood is the mighty waters that incubate in 40 days, that exit the delet, the doorway of the highest point of man, or the opening of man. That's called the seed, guys. That is not red blood cells. And so I'll do 2 healing your book messages this week, one on the enemy and one on the blood, for those who are interested. And like I said, nature itself, science should tell you those are misinterpretations. That's how life works. Life is easy. God is love. And so, as we said, God would never design it hard. Let me just share a couple of things. I love, see if this makes sense to you. This is how fearfully and wonderfully we are made. And as we've been sharing, like with Dr. Schwartz, or whether it's any of the neuroscientists, the fact that we can have loving thoughts and turn on genes that create new blood cells, new tissue cells, and turn off genes that are causing disease simply by love is pretty remarkable. It's pretty cool. And I don't think God designed us to live as victims when we have 86 trillion times per second our neurons are firing. That sounds divine to me, 86 trillion. And virtually every single cell in your body, guys, contains a complete copy of the 3 billion DNA base pairs. So basically 6 billion, yet it only weighs 7 trillionth of a gram. It's ridiculous. How complex humanity is, how divinely designed they are. So let me just read this to you. This is pretty cool. Like, you can do this. These numbers are so divine, guys, that they all disagree. All they share is you are wildly created, and the amount of DNA in you, the length of neurons in you, the complexity of humanity, the fact that that you can walk into a lighted place and your pupils dilate, or they constrict based on light, with you having to do nothing about it, all points to divinity, in my opinion. So I just typed in how much DNA is in the human body. So you tell me if this sounds like we're dirty, rotten sinners, and God's really mad at us because there's a naked lady that talked to a snake. Again, I'll do a healing of the book service on what that actually is. It's a picture of the divine life. It's the word that comes out of the serpent, which is, when you lay down your skin, you're guaranteed eternal life. Anyway, they're all good stories. So anyway, how much DNA is in the human body? A single copy of the human genome contains around 3.23 million billion. I read that right? Yeah. So basically 3.2 billion individual base pairs. However, almost every cell in the body contains 2 copies of this genome, one maternal and one paternal, giving to 6.496 billion base pairs per cell, guys, per cell. Now, it talks about how many cells we have, and it's just a guess too, but it's wild. So there's 6.4 copies of the genome in every cell. If you remember that your mitochondria and different things from biology, it's divided into 46 chromosomes. This corresponds to roughly 2 meters. So two meters, a little over 6 feet of DNA per cell, yet it only weighs 7 trillionths of a gram. To work out how much DNA is in the whole body, you need to know how many cells the body has. This is the most difficult aspect, as it's yet impossible to count. So estimates range from 5 billion to 200 million trillion. So just know you're divine, guys. However, a very thorough paper in 2013 attempted to measure the cell density of each tissue, muscle tissue, fat tissue, etc. And knowing how much of each tissue type there is, they extrapolated the number of cells from that. Their final answer was 37.2 trillion cells in an average adult male. That's a lot. Each of these will contain a full genome, with the exception of red blood cells. Red blood cells don't actually contain any DNA. This will barely impact the total amount of DNA since there are only around 30 billion of them in your body. So just think about that, these numbers that we throw around casually. It's not a big deal because there's only 30 billion red blood cells in your body compared to 37 trillion of total. And that came from the intimacy of two zygotes, guys, from two cells to the seed of God. This is the divinity of God, the spark of life that makes us this divine individual having the experience of God is pretty amazing to me. So with the 37.2 trillion cells, each containing 2.14 meters of DNA, this gives the total length of DNA at, I got to figure this out, 1, 2, it's a million billion, 79 trillion, 608 meters. For reference, the moon is 384,400 kilometers away, and the sun is 150 million kilometers away. This means that the DNA in your body, guys, the double helix that you can't even see without a microscope, would reach from the earth to the sun 530 times. 530 times from the earth to the sun. So from 530 times, it goes 150,000 kilometers, yet only weighs 2.6 kilograms. Does that sound like divine design, or does that sound like you dirty, rotten sinner? I think that alone should give you a clue that you share in the attributes of God. And as we've been studying, it's so much easier than you think. Like I said, it has to be easy if it's God. Living in our own effort, not with God, is the hard part. So here's the simplicity of God. Like I said, would God struggle for things? I don't think so. God's God. Either God is God or God isn't God. And I don't think God struggles for things. At least that's not our concept of God. Yet we share in those attributes. So how easy is it? It's just a decision at the end of the day. This is what's really cool when you understand how simple this actually is. And I'm not trying to lessen what you're going through, etc. But when you operate in love, as we've been sharing, let me just read this again, because I think this is so good. This is from Love Yourself. Love is the answer to all problems, no matter how difficult the problem is. When the problem, whatever the problem, if you apply love, the problem drops immediately, no matter how difficult the problem is. The reason is because this is the most powerful emotion in the world. It's the God emotion. Practicing love, you affect every atom in the universe. You affect every person in the universe, whether they realize it or not. And one of the easiest ways to experience love, guys, is to say yes. As we've been sharing, love is the accepting of all things. So I just say yes to that. Instead of resisting saying no, yes is the opposite. It's positive. So here's how simple it really is. You can choose to live in abundance. You can decide. I could say, I'm going to decide to be abundant. You can decide to be unhappy and unloved, or you can decide to be totally happy and full of love. You can decide to be sick, or you can decide to experience peace in your body. Now, how simple is it? This is where we lose people, but this is how simple it actually is. When you just say yes, instead of pushing back against unloving feelings, you actually release all that negative. And as you continue to say yes, I just say yes to that emotion. That emotion doesn't feel good because it's not natural to me. We know it's not natural. Our bodies naturally goes, you're holding something that doesn't need to be there, because your cellular memory, in your heart of hearts, way back, all of us have remembrance of, hey, I remember when everything just operated freely in the flow of God. Hey, I remember when everything was just divine, when everything was complete love with no negative judgment whatsoever. We were born out of that, guys. We have remembrance of it. Every one of us do, which is why I said we are naturally drawn to love and the supernatural and being free. We all want to be free because it feels good. It feels like natural to us. To be unfree, to not have things we desire, to have to struggle for it, really is unnatural to us. That's why it doesn't feel very good. So every time we say yes to an unloving feeling, and just not trying to change it, just allow it to be there, we just say yes to it. It dissolves, and every time we say yes to it some more, it dissolves some more. And every time we say yes to it some more, we dissolve some more. And guess what? At this time of Thanksgiving, when you let go of I don't, or I can't, or I'm not worthy, you move into the gratitude of having everything. That's your natural state. Your natural state is having it all, one with God. So you move into the limitless ability and ease of God, and you naturally become grateful because you're into the gratitude of having. You move into the gratitude of having. So here's what's really cool. I don't care what's going on in your life. Here's a simple question. This is where we can judge ourselves as whether we're trying to do it or whether we're just allowing God to do it and flow into the effortlessness of God. Could you let go of lack feelings in order to experience abundance? Could you let go of unhappy feelings in order to experience happiness? Could you let go of unloving feelings in order to move into feeling completely loved and blissful? Could you let go of sick feelings or worrying about your body in order to experience peace and bliss in your body and divine health? Of course you could, guys. That's how simple it is. So saying yes to it is love. Like I said, love is the answer to every problem, no matter how difficult it is. Instead of pushing back against the negative feeling, oh, I don't like this, I don't have this, could you just say yes to it? And you let go of all the negative, and you're naturally into your natural state, which is wholeness, which is the effortlessness of God, which is God himself, which is love. And everything is free. Everything starts to flow in your life freely. So here's a great question. Here's how the simplicity of God is. Could you allow yourself to have life exactly how you like it? Could you just allow yourself to have it? If you were God and you had the unlimited attributes of God, could you just say, yes, I think I'd like to experience that? Of course you could, because that's the ability of God. So when you think about something you'd like to experience in your life, can you just go, I say yes to that? And I say yes to it some more. And as anything negative arises or any uncomfortable feeling, just go, oh, I say yes to that feeling. I allow that negative feeling, that uncomfortable feeling of lack that I don't have. I just let it go. And as you continue to say less, guys, all the lack disappears and you move into having. You move into the gratitude of having. You become very grateful. So if you've been given a diagnosis in the body, could you just say yes to that? Oh, I say yes to that fear, that anxiousness, that fear of dying, that fear of what if this doesn't work? What if my body is X? Could you just say yes to that feeling and just allow it to be there and just say yes to it some more and just say yes to it some more? Because you're unleashing the unlimited power of God, guys. So as you say yes to it, here's what's really cool. Your body naturally starts to heal itself and create new tissue. It turns off the genes that are not repairing and causing unwanted cells, and it turns on the genes that create new tissue and healthy tissue. So yes is the easiest way to having everything in your life. Could you say yes to having exactly life? Could you say yes to having life exactly how you want it? Just say yes to it. Did you say yes to abundance? Could you say yes to having abundance with ease and freedom? Could you just say yes to that? And just say yes to it to some more and say yes to it some more. And as you continue to say yes to it, guys, you naturally move into the gratitude of having. You move into the gratitude of having. This is the simplicity of God. It has to be easy because it's God. It has to be limitless because it's God. Now that's something to be grateful for, is moving into the gratitude of having it all at Thanksgiving. And it simply is saying yes to any negative feeling, allowing that to dissolve, and continue to say yes to having life exactly how you want it. And what you used to struggle for becomes easy because you're unleashing the unlimited power of God. That's your natural state. That's something to be grateful for. God bless you guys. Hope that helps. I'll see you on Sunday at the fellowships.